He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, everyone. It is Christmas week here on The Alex Marlow Show, our first Christmas week. I hope all of you had a great weekend. I had a good one. We had a really fun birthday celebration for my beloved mother-in-law, and it was a nice party thrown by my father-in-law, who I learned for sure is not an Alex Marlow Show listener. You know how I learned it? Because he was wearing the quarter zip under a jacket. It was like a perfect troll. It was an amazing party. He threw an amazing party. We had a great time. And I hope all of you are getting into the Christmas spirit. We have some special shows for you this week. It's going to be Alex and Friends. And this is partially to make sure you guys have some great content to listen to. Some of these longer form interviews that I like to do, medium form, I'm calling them, because they're not super long. They got those 3-hour interviews out there. I'm not doing those yet. But you're going to get to know some of the people who I rely on to get some of the information that I bring to you each and every day. And hear our interaction. It's going to be great. And we start with none other than John Nolte, my real life godfather, senior writer for Breitbart News, one of the most beloved conservatives in all of the written word, I would say. And we get into a wide variety of stuff, starting with the news of the day. We get his reaction to Biden's latest series of pardons, where he pardoned all but 3 federal death row inmates. Very bizarre and inconsistent. We break that down. We talk about Christmas in Boone, North Carolina, where he lives, which was ravaged by the hurricanes this year. And we talk about the budget bill and whether or not he's disappointed by that. And I think perhaps most interestingly, the importance of owning physical media and not just relying on the big streaming conglomerates to get your culture and entertainment. That's all great stuff. He is just one of the most fascinating guys, and that's why I hope you take a listen. Let's check it out. All right, another first here on the Alex Marlow Show. My first Breitbart content creator guest, John Nolte, my real life godfather. I try not to cannibalize some of the work I'm doing for Breitbart, our Fight Club, and our Breitbart Confidential show that we do every day. And I interview John just about once a week over there. But I thought the Christmas season was a perfect time to bring him on to the Alex Marlow Show. One of my favorite people on the planet and my favorite person to read, period, in the media. Also the author of Borrowed Time. You won't be able to get it in time for Christmas, but it is something that is everyone should read, and you'll enjoy. I've read it 3 times, his amazing novel. John, I want to do more news with you today. I was hoping just to keep everything evergreen, but it's actually kind of a busy news day as we're talking. But give me a sense of Christmas in the Nolte household. What's it like these days, particularly after the victory in November? Is it things a little happier these days? Everyone happy? Everyone having a good time?
Yeah, the wife worries a lot about it, more than I do. I think because I'm consumed with it all day. I don't want to think about it outside of work. So she's very, very happy Trump won. And, our house is all decorated, and I'm on vacation pretty much after I hang up with you here. And it's just going to be
Congratulations.
a nice week and a half of playing with the dogs and watching movies and me making inappropriate passes at my wife. It'll be a very nice 10 days.
That's the American dream. It's a dog's inappropriate passes at your wife. What's your best known? I mean, you're sharp on everything, but you're best known for being the sort of original conservative movie and culture critic. I'm kind of surprised at how poorly some things are doing at the box office this year. There's some real highlights. I think it hasn't been a terrible box office year because the family-friendly stuff that got less woke seems to have done pretty well. But I'm looking at now, since we're having this conversation, this latest Lion King reboot is doing badly. I don't think the Gladiator movie did particularly well. There's some big things coming down the pike that just don't seem to be doing all that well box office wise. And I admit I've given this a ton of thought over the last few years, and I don't have a total read on what people want these days. Do you feel like you've got a sense of it?
Yeah, I mean, who would have expected a non-controversial Lion King movie to bomb? I didn't expect that.
Me neither. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, I was when the prediction came out that it would make $50 million, and the entertainment editor Jerome asked me to write a piece on it. I said, "Well, I'm going to qualify it because that seems low to me, especially when the Lion King remake that came out in 2019, I think it made $195 million its opening weekend. So I thought this is going to do better than $50 million. I thought Disney was lowballing it." so they could call it a hit if it made 55 or 60 million. But it ended up making 35 million, and I don't know what to make of that. It's very strange because that should have. Because Moana 2 made a fortune for Disney. Inside Out 2 made a fortune for Disney.
Yes.
So who knows?
Yeah, Inside Out 2 Inside Out was one of the original was one of the sort of underrated Pixar movies. It was so good, and people kind of, I think, treated it like a routine Pixar movie because there are those. So I wasn't shocked Inside Out 2 did well. The Moana 2 was interesting because the first one was woke adjacent. It wasn't really woke, but it was also about Hillary Clinton and written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is one of the most just insufferable libs in all of media. And they ditched him for Moana 2, and it did better. And I just get such a kick out of that. And they threw him out. They said, "You can't be a part of this. We don't want you."
And then he did the music for Mufasa, and it bombed. So it's all good.
Wow,
they should have brought Elton John back. I don't know why they brought him.
We're winning. We're winning, man. We can't stop winning. Even the bad guys can't have as much fun as they used to. No, I know, but it's interesting to me because I don't. The blockbuster movie. I mean, a certain type of movie it does well. I mean, the Avatars have done well recently. Top Gun, the second Top Gun, did amazingly well. Some of these animated family movies still continue to do well, but it's the Gladiator one, and now we got this weird Mufasa one. It's not just go woke, go broke now. It's now there's something else to it that I haven't quite put my finger on, and I wonder if you get a sense of that.
I think part of it is that movies just aren't that much fun anymore. It used to be really fun to go to the movies, and I just did an article about American Beauty, and I look back at the year 1999, and the titles that came out that year. I looked at the movies that I owned that came out in 1999. On Blu-ray, and I probably have 50 titles. And then I looked at what I have in 2012 and 2013, and it's 5 or 6, and most of them I bought on faith from Redbox for $3, and I wouldn't have bought them otherwise. So they're just movies. They're not as much fun anymore, and they're not. You used to feel I'll go to the movies 5 times. One's going to stink. The other 4 are going to be good. And now it's the opposite. You're surprised if you see a good movie.
It's so right. You're surprised when it's good. So this is something there's some new audience members who probably aren't entirely familiar with your whole canon. One thing that you've done that we've talked about but not recently is you are someone who believes in physical media. And you collect the Blu-rays and the DVDs if you can't get the Blu-rays. And I feel like I thought that was a big risk when you took that project on. I think it's looking really good today because I'm finding I'm paying so much for streaming, and then I go to watch something and it's not there. Last night we wanted to watch the Charlie Brown Christmas Carol, which is it's a masterpiece, fantastic. I'm not a big Charlie Brown fan, but it's a perfect little Christmas treat, and I couldn't get it. Like I had to subscribe to Apple TV, which is the one thing I don't have to get it, and it's unbelievably frustrating. And then people like you, I mean, you're just laughing into your DVD library, just picking one of a million things you have.
Yeah, and I'm also extremely concerned because movies just disappear because they're not politically appropriate. They're not politically correct anymore. And I'm not going to watch Gone with the Wind and be lectured by some woke harpy before I watch Gone with the Wind, which is the only way to watch it now. If you watch it on streaming, you're going to get a lecture beforehand. They're going to tell you how to
you get the trigger warnings. They literally, for those of you who have any of the Disney stuff, that any of the old Disney, the stuff we like about Disney, that they put trigger warnings on it, that this has some theme that the woke left in 2023 didn't like, so they had to throw something on it.
Yeah, and that's how I watch a movie. I watch a movie to go in there and enjoy it and to interpret it on my own, and no one has to tell me that in the otherwise marvelous Holiday Inn that the Abraham scene in blackface is offensive. No one needs to tell me that. But at the same time, when Fred Astaire does a tribute to Bill Bojangles Robinson in blackface, it's not offensive because it's a tribute, and doesn't have the big white lips and the big eyes and all that. He's just being Bojangles, and that's a white man in 1940 giving a tribute to a black man, and there's nothing there that bothers me about it, even though it's blackface, because there's 2 different types of it. So no one needs to tell me how to interpret art. I know I can do that on my own, and that's one of the pleasures of watching a movie. When you're told everything, it's no fun. It's trying to figure it out in your head. What's this about? I watched a movie Sunday called Warning Shot with David Jansen, which I've never heard of, and I bought on Faith, and it was fantastic. And there's this little gay joke in there. Just a very little gay joke where this gay photographer says, go take pictures of cows, and Joan Collins says you'd probably prefer pictures of bulls. It's just a little, but that's why the movie. You never heard of the movie because it's just one little thing.
It takes it takes one woke noticer noticing things within some distribution company that's thinking of buying it and putting it out on and getting it a print. It's interesting because I go down. I'm in this strange phase of life, John, where I listen to a lot of podcasts about movies, but I don't have enough time to watch them all because I do have a lot of dishes and a lot of stuff to unpack and a lot of stuff to do and water in my neighborhood. And so I think I'm up more on the business sometimes than I am on what's actually good and entertaining. And we all really take for granted how hard it is to get stuff distributed unless it's just a huge blockbuster thing. And then once you do, there's a lot goes into it because a lot of movies are very hot for 2 weeks and then you print a lot and then they're kind of no one really wants them after 2 weeks. So it's a real economic. If you're an economist, that would be a very interesting line of work to be in as to what movies ought to get distributions. And there's a lot of lobbying, a lot of activism that takes place to get things printed. And it's a big thing. It's not a small thing to get something printed this day and age. And you can't. It is something that I feel like we underestimate that part of the process, that it's not just someone made this movie, thus I will always have access to a physical copy of it. It's just not true.
Yeah, you're not always. Yeah, it's just there are movies that have come out on Netflix that they don't release on physical copy. If you want a copy of that Martin Scorsese movie, The Broken Moon or Broken Flowers or something, you got to get it basically a bootleg off of eBay, which I've done. But because they're not going to release it, Netflix wants you to subscribe to Netflix if you want to watch that Martin Scorsese movie, and I understand that. But they're just I was in Walmart today. Our Walmart got flooded out during Helene, and it just opened up on Friday, so it's brand new, and it's still not fully open. But the DVD section the Blu-ray section was already this big, and now it's about this big. And Best Buy completely got rid of their all of their physical media. So, and if you don't own it, they could take it away from you. And if you have a digital copy, they can go in and edit it or delete it, or they can claim the license expired and just take it away from you. So you got to get the physical copies of movies that you love. And unfortunately, I love about 10,000 movies, so it's a pretty expensive hobby.
Yeah, well, but you work hard and you save your money. So John, you're in Boone, North Carolina, which is just unbelievable because it's we've got 75, 100 reporters at Breitbart, and most of them are concentrated in big cities, and some are international. And you happen to be right there at the heart of the big storms this season. Just completely wild and coincidental. What was your perspective from inside the belly of the beast? How'd the government do? How'd your neighbors do? What's it like to live through sort of a modern massive crisis right now? Because we don't all experience it these days.
Well, just so people don't think that I'm making it up, my mom has dementia, and she was in a nursing home in northern Wisconsin, and my stepfather died in August, so we decided to move her here. So we hired two nurses.
This was as opposed to running her for Senate or something right
yes.
now, which would have been the other option.
So we hired two nurses, and they flew her into Charlotte, and Charlotte is about 2.5 hours east of where I am. I'm way in the western part of the state. And it just so happened that the day that they flew my mom in was the day of the hurricane, was that Friday. So we left very early because we knew it was awful, and we had to pick up my mom at 3. Normally we would have left about 11, but we left about 8 in the morning. We went down one way, 421. Everything stopped for 2 hours about 10 miles out of town because a telephone pole had fallen. So we decided to turn around and come back and take 321 down to Charlotte. And that's when we saw everything. And normally I wouldn't have been out driving around. And I had a good reason, which is I was trying to find my way out of town to pick up my mom. And the flooding was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it outside of in the news, which is stores completely underwater, cars completely underwater. And we tried to go the other way. We couldn't even get to 321, so we went back down 421, and luckily it was cleared. When we came back with my mom, we were on the phone with the nursing home, and they're telling us there's only one road into town, one road. And it wasn't a major highway. It was a very twisty, turny road, back road. And the reason that's important is because no truck carrying supplies could take that road. So we took it, and we got my mom settled in, and we got home, all good. But for a week, and this is another wild coincidence, I live within a 5-iron shot of the airport, which is basically a landing strip and a few hangars for personal planes. And for a week, I did not hear anything coming in and out of that airport. It was only after a week or 10 days, and as far as I know, there was no other way to get supplies to us. People didn't have internet. I had the Elon Musk thing, so I had internet. People didn't have power. People didn't have water because most of us have wells. You need power to pump the wells. And as far as I know, there was no way to get supplies in here, and it took a week before those helicopters started coming in from the government and bringing supplies. And then they were here probably a week or 10 days. It was just constant, those double helos landing. And my mom's nursing home just happens to be across the street from the airport. So when I was visiting her every morning, and I would see the big pallets of supplies there. So I think the only thing that saved us, and this is another wild coincidence, it's going to make the story sound like Forrest Gump because I'm in the middle of everything, but Samaritan's Purse is only a stone's thrown away from the airport. So I think Samaritan's Purse was able to get out and help our residents here. But there's still debris all over the place. I mean, there's still a mess, and a lot of people lost their homes. My neighbor lost her home. Her daughter had to move in with her. And there's still big piles of furniture and just junk where people have been flooded out all over the place. So as far as I know, the government did not get here very quickly because they could have started landing at that airport on day one, and it usually took a week.
January 20th is the day, and Washington, D.C. is the place. That's when and where Donald Trump will be inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States. He gets a whole new inauguration. It was already 45th. Now it'll be 47. And we want to send you there. You can win a once-in-a-lifetime VIP experience to attend the inauguration in Washington, D.C. It includes airfare for you and a guest to Washington, a 3-night stay in our nation's capital, tickets for the presidential inauguration, and much more. Don't miss this historic opportunity to celebrate the greatness, the history, the excitement of a presidential inauguration. To enter, you see the link in the show notes for this episode, or go to SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Trump. Guys, I've said that this is the marquee event on anyone's social calendar for the year, really for the decade for most people. And you get a chance to go. I don't see why you wouldn't give it a shot. Salem Podcast Network/Trump. All you got to do, and you'll get your name on the list. And let's see if you can win. I hope you do. It's slow and inefficient. I was thinking about this with when I researched Joe Biden, the way he handled the baby formula crisis that we had, how it took months and months for him to even realize it was a problem. And then he shipped in a bunch of formula from Germany, and not enough to give each baby one bottle in the country. So it was less than one bottle's worth per baby. And it all flew into Dulles Airport in Virginia, which, I was out here on the West Coast and I had babies. So I wanted to know where my one bottle, how I was going to get that, because it was in Dulles. Like, I guess I would have had to go to Dulles to get my one bottle. And Joe Biden still did a photo shoot. And I just always think about that in front of the pallets of baby formula. And I thought this is exactly emblematic of the government slow, and then they don't do enough, but they still take the photo shoot. And that's. Do you think it made a difference in the election? Because it wasn't a good look. I'm not saying it's an easy job, disaster relief, but it is one of the things the government's actually supposed to do, not make sure that men can use women's restrooms. They're supposed to make sure that when there is a disaster, that citizens can survive.
Yeah, these are the basics. These are and I think what helped is that Donald Trump came here before Kamala and Joe Biden did. I think what helped is that Elon Musk gave everyone free internet through his Skynet thing, or whatever it's called, which is Starlink, wonderful. Yeah. His internet.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
And the anger was real. And someone may be listening to this and they know more about what happened in Boone than I did, and they may say, well, there was another road where you could get up. But from what everyone I talked to, and my own experience, which was really frightening because, especially with my mom in the car, it was very hard. We were very lucky to get in, and I just don't see how they could have gotten any supplies. But when I was driving around, I didn't go out much because I didn't want to be part of the problem by driving around. I mean, I could have, I'm a reporter and all that, but I just didn't want to do that. But when I did go out finally, I went out on a Sunday morning when nobody was out, and you would go to a store or just an office building, and there'd be this massive pile of water, and it would say free, take whatever you need. And Walmart had shower. Walmart was shut down because they got, I think, 4 feet of water in the store. I went in there for the first time today since the flood. But they had showers for people. They had meals for people. I think they served 500,000 meals. They got the pharmacy open on a truck. And so people were helping each other out. And they were working as hard as they could. But it was a month before we had internet. If I hadn't had the Elon Musk thing, I wouldn't have had internet for at least a month. And it was hard on my mom because she couldn't get her Roku shows, and she's got dementia, and TV's all she's got. So it was, and a lot of people, I remember hearing a month afterwards that there were still 50,000 people, about 500 people without power in our county. I mean, can you imagine being without power?
No, that's crazy.
You can't do anything.
Also, Misty, we got to get that drop. TV's all she's got. Like, we got to have that. Set that aside. Use that from time to time. It's John. You're endlessly interesting. I need to take advantage of your observance of the news cycle today. I want to do, when you come back, I want to make sure we have a lot of time to just talk about normal life stuff, evergreen stuff. But it is a big news day, and I want to get your thoughts on a couple things. First of all, do you have a reaction to the budget battle that concluded late on Friday? We avoided a government shutdown. Trump asked for one thing. He doesn't want to have Schumer to be able to negotiate with a debt ceiling looming over Trump's head. So Trump said, for one thing, make sure that's not a problem for me. It still is a problem. Now, I'm not saying whether or not I think that's a reasonable request from Trump, but it was his one request, and we just voted him in. And it looks like there's a lot of stuff that is not great. No real cuts to spending. One of the things that I'm keeping a close eye on is whether or not we're still going to be doing massive amounts of business with China. That's still happening. I mean, it did not really hit a lot of my erogenous zones, so to speak, in terms of the deal that was closed. But do you have a take on it?
I look at the budget really like I look at global warming. It's we keep being told that there's going to be a catastrophe. Going back to Reagan, which I remember, and it never happens. And yeah, and we're a big country. We can afford. Now, do I wish we lived within our means? Sure, of course I do. And do I wish this nonsense wasn't in there? Of course I do. But we're a big country. We can afford a massive mortgage, and I don't have to pay for it. So it's not my problem. It just goes on the deficit. I don't know who's going to pay for it, but I don't have to pay for it. My taxes are going up.
So here's where I'm not a dogmatist in this. I'm generally speaking with you, John Carney, who I think is the most brilliant economic mind writing in media, is totally with you. He's not. He thinks it's all pretty much irrelevant. But even he's starting to say, well, this could get pretty crazy if we don't even talk about. We can't even commune with the fact that we're irresponsible once every couple of years. Like, we're trying to get rid of that, where we just let it ride forever. And that's had me thinking that maybe we're really on the slippery slope here. I mean, do you feel any differently now than you did before?
You use the word trillion, and that's a pretty big word, and we're using it 3 or 4 times a year now, and that's sort of earth shattering. And maybe if I was your age, I'd be a little more worried about it. Yeah. But, I'm 58. The future doesn't belong to me anymore. And as long as no one touches my Social Security and Medicare, I've become one of those guys. That's all I care about. And the other thing is that what are you going to do about, the budget is mostly entitlements, Social Security, Medicare. It's mostly veterans benefits and national defense. I mean, if you can't do anything with the budget until you do something about that. And no one's ever going to have the courage to touch those things. And we need national defense. I mean, all the other stuff that we get angry about, and we should get angry about, and maybe the Doe guys could do something about that. But it's not – it feels good. Okay, we're going to stop spending $2 million a year for Canada to find out if, this breed of mouse is gay. It would be great if we could stop that nonsense. But in the long run, it's not going to do anything for the deficit because it all comes from things that we're always going to have.
The most wacky story today is, as this is coming out, so Joe Biden has commuted the sentences of 37 death row inmates. He's spared murderers who killed entire families, children, infants. He did not commute every single death row sentence. He left a few high-profile ones there. I am, John, you and I are both Catholics. This is something that is since Vatican II. It's been part of Catholic doctrine that we're supposed to be opposed to the death penalty. It was not always like that. That's a relatively new thing. It's not something I struggle with. I just disagree with the church on this in this regard. I don't think all murderers should live. And it's interesting with Joe Biden, who loves abortions, 3rd trimester, 4th trimester, 5th trimester. But I guess he's apparently doesn't like death penalties, even for people who kill infants. What do you make of this move, the last-minute nature of it, the Catholic faith connection? Anything strike you?
There's no principle behind it because he's going to let 3 or 4 people die.
Exactly.
So the idea that this is some sort of principle, if you're principled against the death penalty, you're principled against the death penalty.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So that's just nonsense. And I think Joe Biden doesn't understand, and the media doesn't understand yet, that the whole world has changed. It's not 2012 anymore. And this is going to haunt the Democrat Party in 2028 because Trump's going to be campaigning for J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance is going to be campaigning, and new media and the citizen journalists have completely annihilated the influence of the corporate media. And we're not going to let the Democrats forget this. And what the corporate media would do in the past is they'd come up with some fake hypocrisy to kill this narrative. Or they would say it's old news to kill this narrative. Or they would point out this or that to kill this narrative. And they can't do that anymore. This is going to live on. And this is another example of how the far left wags tail, wags the dog of the Democrat Party. This is, he commuted the sentence of a guy who cut a little girl's head off. That is not going to be forgotten. And whoever the Democrats put up, they're going to have to answer for it. And the media won't make them answer for it, but Trump will, and J.D. Vance will, and our ads will, and their ads will, and Breitbart will, and Twitter will. So it's a whole new world. So when they do these things, as reprehensible as it is, from a political point of view, it's kind of beautiful because it just exposes the extremism.
It really provides this clarity. This one murderer, drug kingpin Caboni Savage, I'm sure that's his real name, he convicted of murdering 12 people, including a family of 6, in a firebombing. That's quite a way to go.
And that's the word, clarity, because the media would muddy the waters in the past. In 2012, the media would muddy the waters on this. If Obama did this commutation, they would muddy the water. They can't do it anymore because everything's changed, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, this is, and the family that he firebombed in 2004, why is he alive now, 20 years? Anyway, he killed the guy's mother, his cousin, his infant son, 3 other children. Well, what is society's interest in keeping this person alive? What do we benefit from this, John? Is that the fundamental question?
Yeah, and there's, you got to pay for what you did. I believe in rehabilitation. I believe in second chances, but you got to pay for what you did. And if you commit a crime like that and you legitimately find Jesus, good for you. Good for you, because then if you repent, you're going to go to heaven, but you still deserve to die. You got to pay for that crime, and the only way to pay for that crime is through your life. And I struggled with the death penalty for a while, but I came out on this side of it. And as long, like you said, well, it's been 20 years. Now that's a little long. I agree with that. But the appeal process, all that's all good. Let's be sure.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think we need 20 years to be sure.
No, and I'm cool with the special circumstances. I'm not saying.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't think every murderer necessarily has to die. I'm not saying everyone has to die. I'm just saying that why are we taking off the table for a guy who kills 12 people, including children? Like what? I don't understand that.
Right. But the guys at Guantanamo are still alive. They almost commuted their death penalty, their death sentences. I mean, the left is insane, and the media can't cover them for them anymore. And that's a good thing. The insanity isn't good, but the fact that, like you said, the clarity of it, people understand that. They understand that Kamala wanted to give people who are illegal aliens and in prison sex change operations. They got that. And the media, 12 years ago, the media would have covered that up, would have muddied the waters and protected Obama from that. And they couldn't do it this time because, number one, they can't scare Trump into, well, you need to drop this bigot. They just couldn't do it.
Folks, pay attention because this is as serious as it gets. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are racing to lock in radical policies before Trump takes office in January. They're not just winding stuff down, they're cementing their control. Biden's already signed Executive Order 14067, and banks are actively testing a government-controlled digital dollar right now. You've heard me talk about this on the show. This isn't about modernizing currency, it's about total control. They want to track every dollar you earn, save, and spend, every single one. And here's the kicker. Once this system is fully implemented, it'll be nearly impossible for Trump to undo it. The radical left and their global elite allies will have a permanent grip on your financial life long after they're out of power. Trump's called this a dangerous threat to freedom, and J.D. Vance warns it could mean total government control over your finances. Folks, this is real and it's happening right now, but you're not powerless. That's why my friends at Priority Gold have created a free wealth preservation guide to help you fight back. It lays out 3 critical steps to shield your savings from this overreach. Text FREEDOM to 24999 right now to get your guide. That's FREEDOM to 24999 or visit PriorityGold.com. Don't wait. Text FREEDOM to 24999 today and shield what's yours. Okay, so John, let me get your take on this. So 3 people are so bad, Biden's cool with them dying. Dylan Roof, who murdered 9 people in the African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston. I'm going to do that again because I sound like an idiot. Let's try it again. All right, so 3 people are still bad enough to die, according to Biden. Dylan Roof, who murdered the 9 black parishioners in Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston in 2015. A no-brainer there. Robert Bowers, who murdered the 11 Jews in Tree of Life Synagogue, 2018. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, one of the Boston Marathon bombers. But, I mean, this is just another cowardly thing from Biden. I mean, these are the most high-profile ones. So he's not going to – if he's so principled, then they get to live. They get to live, those people. So I want them all to die. If they're – again, I was saying that I'm good with the special circumstances. I'm good with – you got to have some the special condition. Not everyone has to die. But these guys should. Of course they should. So Biden knows that. So where does he draw the line? He has no line. And that's the thing that's very interesting to me about the left is that it must be very difficult for them to live. For me, I feel like there are lines and you're on one side or the other for me. It was I was talking about this with the NFL cutting off Jay-Z earlier. And now the NFL shouldn't cut off Jay-Z yet. I don't like Jay-Z. I don't like the NFL. But until he's convicted, you don't cut off his business deals because he's accused of something. Like, you don't do that because that's a line. I've got a line. Where's Biden's line? Like, do we know? It's just, how do you live this way with no lines?
And I think it's one of the reasons that the left they're a little mentally unstable because they have to believe these things that they know are not true. You know, you create this narrative online, the left does, MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, Democrats, Obama, and they say if you're virtuous, you believe that the coronavirus, can travel 6 feet, but not 6.1 feet.
Right.
You believe that it's okay to shop at Amazon or at Walmart,
yeah,
but it's not okay to shop at a small business. You believe it's okay to protest, but not go to a Trump rally.
Yes.
And they have to believe that if they're going to stay.
Yeah, it's okay to go to a Black Lives Matter riot, but not to an elementary school.
Exactly. And they have to believe that. And that, I think, drives them crazy. I think it drives them crazy because they want to believe it and they push it, but deep down inside, they know that it's not true. They know Trump isn't Hitler. And they know that Biden is the one who used lawfare. and they know all these things, but they're telling them to believe one thing when their instincts are saying that's a lie, and it messes with your head. It's a very frustrating way to go through life. It's a very unhappy way to go through life.
It really is, and I do enjoy the content, though, because it is great to talk about how insanely inconsistent this is. All right, a couple other news items I got to get to with you, John. People are just freaking out about the subway incident in New York City where a woman was burned to death in the subway. Already crazy. And then we learn now that the suspect is an illegal immigrant from Guatemala who snuck into the U.S. after previously being deported. Oh, my God. Your take.
It's in the karma of New York Governor Kathy Hochul running around talking about how safe the subways are. It's just perfect. And this is another example of, like, the New York Daily News. Their headline was "Woman Catches Fire on Subway." I mean, that's what they're doing. It's like car drives into crowd. Unless it's a white supremacist, it's always the car, or it just catches fire. There's spontaneous combustion.
Yeah.
And again, it's clarity again. It's just clarity again. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. And the price is real. It's economic, and it is horrific. I mean, what kind of – is there – I don't even know if Ted Bundy could light someone on fire and just watch them burn alive. You know, most murderers, they cover up what they did. They put a sheet over the person, or they roll them over or something, or they bury them. They don't sit there and just watch them suffer. I've never seen anything like this before. And it didn't have to happen. And again, it is a heinous thing. It's awful. I cannot imagine what that woman went through.
Yeah.
But politically, it's just perfect, because again, it tells everyone exactly what you import the third world, you get the third world.
She was sleeping on the train, and you just let her on fire. Like, we have no idea why. There's no motive. And Hochul goes out and says, I made the subway safer. Here's the thing. I'm not blaming her for thinking that she's in charge of these things. And you say, well, I worked really hard to make these things safer. But why vocalize it now? All you're doing is making it so that me and you point out that she's a lunatic. Is that she has no self-control, no ability to govern herself? How could she govern a state? She can't govern herself.
Yeah, it's bad judgment. And you know, this is the kind of thing. This is the kind of a political moment that turns a blue state red.
Yeah. This
is the kind of thing that people just say, the people that have been trying to hold two different thoughts in their heads, at this point they just go, you know, I can't do it anymore. I cannot do it. This has to stop. This has gotten way too bad that now I'm going to go for Trump. And so many people went for Trump because the Democrats just went insane on, you know, letting men compete with women, that type of nonsense. And they just said, well, I don't like Trump, but I'm going to vote for him because that's how bad the Democrats are.
Last news one. I got one more kind of big picture thing for you, John. The Panama Canal. Trump is talking about taking the Panama Canal back, and I'm for it. It's like, well, we built it. Why did we give it up? Why can't we undo it? And Trump will probably be the last boomer president, so maybe someone who memorizes it, and this made sense to him that it was a big mistake, and maybe we have a chance to undo it. But I want your take.
Well, I think he's dead serious about it. He certainly understands how important it is to our economy, and
immigration is his two biggest things. It would help his immigration and economic agenda, right?
Yep, it would help with everything that he campaigned on, and also it's also an issue where the Chinese appear to really be in control of the Panama Canal, and it's costing us a lot of money when we built the damn thing. And you know, Trump at this point is the most dangerous person on the planet to the left, because now he knows how to be president, and I don't think he did in 2016, and he's going to hit the ground running. And he doesn't care. He knows the public's on his side. He knows he has brought the public over to his side. He has shown leadership on issues that were 45-55 in the Democrats' favor before and are now 60-40, 70-30 in his favor. And I think he's dead serious about the Panama Canal. I think he's dead serious about Greenland. I think he intends to be the most consequential president since Abraham Lincoln. and to make a huge difference. And look at what he did. Look at what he accomplished with everything up against him in the first term. Still getting part of the wall built. Still doing everything was against him. And now he's got loyalists in there, which he should have. He knows how to govern. The people are with him. It's a totally different world. And this is going to be an amazing presidency. I'm certain of it. A consequential one too.
And the Greenland news cycle came up last presidency, and you know how I know it's a serious idea? Because the guy who was really pushing it originally before Trump was Tom Cotton. And Tom Cotton is a super strategic guy. He's incredibly smart. He's not a bomb thrower, figuratively speaking. And he was out there saying that it's gettable and it would be of great benefit to us. Do you have committed to memory? I mean, I know it's got a lot of minerals, water, fish stock, seafood, all that stuff. It could be a big tourism opportunity, the way Iceland's kind of become a big tourism opportunity. All that's there, but why do you think they're so interested in it? Because I totally dig. I love it, but I don't know exactly why I love it yet.
Yeah, well, it's always good to expand, and then we're moving further into that part of the world. I think strategically to be able to. I don't know, maybe we have weapons there now, I don't know, but to be able to put a base there or something if we don't have it now, or not have to worry about them kicking us out. But it's always good to expand your country, because the bigger your country is, the more spread out it is, the more plural it is. And one of the things that keeps us safe, that doesn't keep England or Germany or these other countries that are going insane safe, is we are so spread out. And, the Amish had it figured out. They said, we're going to go to the most rural parts of the rural states, and that's where we're going to live because the government can't touch us there. They're not going to worry about us there, out of sight, out of mind. And the bigger we are, the harder we are to govern. And that's one of the main reasons that I don't want to bring Canada into the country, because then, America would be gayer. And I don't want to bring Mexico into the country because I don't think that's a country that can be governed. But a country like Greenland would just be fantastic, because the more we're spread out, the freer we are.
Yeah, Canada's a more complicated one because I feel like they need to be liberated, but I don't know if they're going to vote right if we get them. So, and that's a big deal. It's kind of like
they might liberate themselves in the next election, because it looks like they're at a breaking point too, where the nonsense is just too much.
Yeah, and they got a great guy. I mean, the next man up, the guy in the on deck circle, is potentially a home run hitter. So Pierre Poilievre. So there's a chance that he could be great. So we might not have to do anything. But I'm kind of lightly pro-liberating Canada, but I feel like it could backfire. So, John, we're going to have to do that next time. You've been our number one culture critic for 15 years at Breitbart News. People might recall, and we'll definitely cover this at a later show, but the original 4 people at Breitbart were Larry Solov, our CEO and president, Andrew, me, and John. And so he's been here from the very start. What is your take now, as it feels like the culture is just more pro-Trump than ever? Not old Hollywood, but the online meme culture, the YouTube culture. It just feels like the ultimate fighter stuff. They're doing the Trump dance in the end zone. Is this locked in now? Is the world a completely different place? Or do we feel like this could be just a fad post-assassination, post-election victory, and it could fade with some bad PR and we got to be on guard?
No, this isn't going to fade. We're not getting anywhere really with Hollywood, with what you might call pop culture. I don't think we're doing much there. But in the culture, with these podcasts and with Breitbart and with Twitter, what happened is everybody got scared during the woke era. Yeah. And that was the idea, to terrify us. Because we went from the woke era, and then we went to the coronavirus era and the Ukraine era, and you got to believe this, you got to believe this, you got to believe this, and then we went to the Trump era. We got to destroy Trump. These are who's virtuous and this is who isn't. And people were scared. Now, you and I weren't, because we don't have to be, because we work at Breitbart, and it's a very different culture here, and so we don't have to worry about our jobs. But a lot of other people were. But what happened? Elon Musk bought Twitter. Yep. They tried to get him with the advertisers, and he literally told Disney, "Go F yourself." Literally told Disney that in public. And then the assassination happened, and Elon Musk said, I support Trump. And that seemed to just break down all the barriers. And suddenly you got Justine Bateman. And suddenly you've got all these people that we kind of wondered. And now, and I know Justine Bateman, I don't want to get her in trouble because she hasn't supported Trump. She hasn't said she supports Trump, but I just mean she just, I can speak out now about these things. And you can sense that we're tired of the prigs and we're tired of the Scolds. And it's like, the movie MASH, and we're just making fun of these people now, and we're ridiculing them, and we're winning the argument, and they're frustrated and they're sidelined, and you can see it in the media because they're not talking about, they don't, all they're doing is complaining about how we're running the news now. And I think we're free, and when free people are going to stay free, and we're finding each other. Joe Rogan, all of a sudden, we don't agree with him 100%, but look, Cenk Younger was in front of conservatives. So you see this where our tent is expanding because we're more sane and we have more fun and we believe in freedom. And the other side, they're the fascist Scolds. And I don't see this genie going back in the bottle. Now, listen, in 20 years, there will be another social panic because that's the way it works. In the 50s, it was communism. In the 80s, it was the daycare stuff in California. And then it was this woke nonsense. It'll happen again. But we're going to go into an era that's just going to be a blast. And like Trump says, and he's right about this, success brings us together. And I think he's going to be a successful president. And everything's going to, I'm hoping we're going to go into a great era. Now, they may release another coronavirus. I don't know. But without something like, and even if they did, who's gonna buy that crap again?
Yeah, I don't know if they will. It's interesting, and I thought that's definitely worth a deeper discussion. Yeah, but winning is its own value, and the left has always understood this, and Trump has always understood it, but I think it's only gotten popular over the last few months, and I think that's a big deal. John Nolte at NolteNC on X, his X account is amazing. Everything he writes at Breitbart News is must read. I interview him just about once a week on the Breitbart Fight Club. If you guys get the premium app over there, we do deep dives on various topics, and it's always really entertaining and informative. The book Borrowed Time, if you haven't read it, you're making a mistake. John, what can I say? Let's make this a regular thing.
Yep, thank you. And Merry Christmas to you and to your kids and your whole family and everyone listening. Have a great holiday.
Thanks, John. Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year to you as well. Thanks to our producer, Misty, and all of you in the audience for telling 10,000 friends and family members about the show. Aloha at alexmarlow.com. If you want to correspond with me, leaving comments, 5-star reviews, all that very helpful. Hitting those like buttons, subscribing, all that good stuff. You know what to do. That's today's show. We'll talk to you tomorrow.